Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to this Saturday channel and the Saturday message. Oh my goodness. Oh, what a really interesting spiral of energy we are in right now. And there are so many beings of love that are here to offer a message. So I want to try and keep this as concise and to the point as possible. Self-actualization. Do you really know what that is, what that means? It's another way of phrasing mind over matter. It's another way of phrasing that we create the universe around us. But what's really interesting is that most humans, even those that are in the spiritual world, that are teaching spiritual law, don't fully understand this, because until we actually really embody our ascension, or until we really embody our bliss fully, there is always going to be a progression of this. No one is doing this perfectly because we're human. That is the point of being here. But there are some things to really help master and understand why this is so important. So self-actualization, what is that? It means that whatever we think, whatever we believe becomes. One of the ancient laws of this world, this universe, is as within, so without, right? Some of the principles, the principle of correspondence. When we have the universal maxim or universal law of as within, so without, what that actually means, it's another way of phrasing mind over matter, because you are creating it. You are creating everything. We all are. But this is really interesting as to how it plays out in your day, because there is not one single truth that is truth for everyone. Everyone has their own mind. That is part of being human. We have our individualism, we have our ego, we have our mind, we have our personality. And therefore, every single being on this planet has a different truth, only pertinent and relevant to themselves. Now, why is this important to know? It's important to know because two beings having one experience, even though they may be sharing an experience, will have very different responses to it. Very different responses, because they're two different beings. When it comes back to all of it, when it comes back to who we really are, we are all source, we are all connected. Of course we are, yes, of course. But in these human forms, the mind is really controlling the body. There are different layers of the mind. This is really important to know and to speak of, because it's really evident right now that there are many different truths occurring and many different patterns and many different beliefs being formed about each other and about collectively and individually and for the world. And we can use different words and they can have different charges, and they can be power words or they can be opposite. But what's really interesting is that there is a shadow aspect to this, because you are always self-actualizing, always. Every minute of every day, always self-actualizing. What that means is your mind, your subconscious mind, is continuously creating your reality. That could be down to your appearance, how quick you're healing something. That can be a shift in eye color, or that could be how you process a certain food if you've ever had an allergy. That is all part of this. That's self-actualization. The emotions that aren't moving through, they become part of your physical form. Then the body needs to clear it. But let's look at this in a different way as well. So let's use an example here. Say you have a friend, or say there's someone that you know in your life, and maybe you speak to them quite regularly, or maybe you don't speak to them at all, or rarely, we should say, maybe rarely. We're going to bring this up because technology is really interesting. How people use phone and technology is really interesting. Because of the distractions that are around, technology isn't a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's anything you want it to be, really. But it does distract us from our knowing and our discernment. Or it can do if we let it. And the reason why we bring this up is because when you're communicating to someone only via message, your perception of the being that you're speaking to goes through your lens. Everything that you experience, that we experience, goes through our individual lens. This is more evident on technology. So what that means is if someone is speaking about something, say, for example, you're watching one of these videos, or you're watching a video of someone else, doesn't matter. You're watching someone's video. You could watch that video and get 10 different messages from that video, and then your best friend or a friend could watch that same video and not at one point receive the 10 messages you received. It could be something totally different, because that's what they're tuning into, that's what they're hearing. This is self-actualization on a very basic level. But we see this happen a lot, especially right now as relationships are forming and falling away and forming and falling away, right? Because if we are spending more time offering energy out than we are bringing it in, or than we are actually going within, is a better way of phrasing that, than we are going within and discerning what we are on a subconscious level feeling, letting that rise up to the conscious, to alchemize, to heal, to evolve, and to expand. If we're spending more time trying to be of service without recognizing that we can only be of service to others when we realize everyone else out there is us on some level, and that we have to fill our own cup, we have to look after ourselves and get yourself in the right vibration, get yourself in the vibration you want to create from. Then what happens is, instead of a message being clear, our lens is very, very full over whatever it is that we're seeing, experiencing, offering out, or receiving in. So this is very evident for many in the world right now when it comes to friendships, relationships, things like that. So let's say, for example, let's say you have a wound that you haven't recognized yet. Let's say there is something that you've not fully discerned within yourself yet. It's just something that you see within others. You don't see it within yourself, you just see it within others. An example of this could be if you feel like you have a certain couple of friends who seem to just kind of know. They just seem to know it all, right? They just seem to know it all. They always have an opinion, perhaps, or they always have a lesson that they're trying to teach. Now, this is really interesting because this, I'm seeing this a lot. And so that is a reflection of me as well, of course. But I also feel like this is a message that needs to go out there, just to allow you, to invite you to understand yourself better. Whatever we see others doing, whatever we feel others doing, unless we've asked them, is that your intention? Is that what you meant when you said this? Is that what you meant when you did this? We are viewing and receiving it through our own lens. So if we've got a subconscious wound, which is where most of the wounds are, if we have a wound somewhere linked to feeling like we aren't empowered enough to make our own decisions, or aren't empowered enough to know something, or if our self-worth, our self-value isn't where it could be because we're disconnected to our inner being, to our source self, to our heart, and we're spending too much time in the mind, which many people are doing, right? Still, and that's okay. We all do this, all of us at some point. When the heart and mind are disconnected, we see more from a separate perspective rather than a collected, together oneness, unity one. Where we're kind of getting with this, where we're going with this, is that we can feel sometimes that someone is maybe taking the huff with us, maybe, a bit annoyed with us, or maybe, short with us, or maybe their message seems to be preachy or something like that. Before we allow ourselves to project that outwards onto another and to carry that wound and that pain and associate it with another, ask yourself, why have I created that? Why do I see that? Why is that the lens that I'm seeing with? Because the lens that you see with, this is for everyone, this is myself included, Everyone, right? The lens that we see with is where we are at. If we're seeing with a lens that sees someone or something in a certain way, whether that's great, beautiful, wonderful, or whether that's a little bit more challenging, that is showing us our subconscious beliefs about ourselves. There are things there to heal within ourselves, right? It's interesting because there are many times that we make snap decisions. We judge something without realizing it, or someone without realizing it. We feel like someone or something has done something. This could be a family member, friend, this could be anyone. When really, they've actually not done anything at all. It's just our lens of perception has self-actualized. Not onto the other person, but into ourselves. That has become the veil and the lens through which we see. Right? We're magnetizing that thought about someone or something and then projecting it out onto them. It's nothing actually to do with anyone else. No one else's process has anything to do with you. We've said that before. And no one else's emotions are anything to do with you. How you feel is your individual process. How I feel is my individual process. How anyone feels is their own individual process. It's not personal. When I was talking, so we're in the Antares portal right now. Antares, the bright sun of Scorpio. And it's super high frequency, super high dimensional. And I was talking to the Antarians about this. And they were just saying, they were like, even though you have personal relationships, none of those relationships are personal to you. And it took me a while to understand what they were saying. No one else's relationship to you is actually personal to you. It's not about you. Someone's relationship with you is about them. Your relationship to everyone else is about you. Okay? What we create with another and what we magnetize and attract is actualization of a thought. A thought that has got a lot of momentum, a lot of repetition, a lot of pattern, but it may be so underneath the conscious mind because the conscious mind is only a very minute amount of what we're creating from and what we can see. Unless we start to realize that phrase, that little phrase, benefit of the doubt, is always a very good phrase. That's what the Antarians were saying. Benefit of the doubt is a good thing because it allows you to embody your heart more. Because what it does is it allows you to connect from a center point of zero, the 0 point. The world is only polarized if you are polarized. If there is some healing to be done in your root chakra or around a patriarchal system, right, then that will show up in what you believe about the collective or about people in the collective, right? If there are things to heal between, for example, you and a sibling, that will show up in your friendships. And it might be something so unconscious that you've never recognized it before. Your desire to connect and be close or intimate, like emotionally intimate with a friend, will be a direct correlation to how your relationships with other siblings, if you had siblings, was when you were growing up. Because that forms a veil, it forms a perception, it forms a lens through which you see. If you struggle to trust, it's not just linked to anything that's physically happened recently, where you can go, oh, I had this trauma, and that is now why I can't trust people. That's a bullshit answer, right? Because it goes back to that. It goes back to whether you could trust yourself in decisions that you made. Everything always comes back to us until we stop projecting outwards onto others. we will limit ourselves. And I thank the Antarians for their direct communication and their direct words. Until we bring everything that we think of others outwardly back in and recognize that we are creating it, we will limit ourselves. So let's be unlimited here. Let's embody our light truly. What is it to do that? It's to move everything back to the heart. This person hasn't spoken to you for a few months. Okay, so is it their fault? Or is this something that you are reflecting outwards? Is this something that you want to heal? Right? You know, I use those as examples because they're very common. They happen in everyday life with everyone. But it's just really interesting, right? This is the time that you're getting to know yourself better, that you're bringing union to yourself. And you have the power and the mastery to do it. But don't limit yourself and don't disempower yourself, because you are the creator of your own reality. And so to really maximize on self-actualization, if you want to create something powerful, something magnificent, something flowing and abundant, that's already there. That's already created, that's already there. You just have to stop projecting outwards, contradicting beliefs, contradicting opinions and thoughts. Bring them back in, back down to your heart. And when it reaches your heart, when it reaches your heart, wow, does it open you up even more than you ever have been before. It's time for you to create what you want rather than hindering yourself. No one else is stopping you, just you. And that's really empowering. So let's stop taking things so personal. Our feelings are our guidance system, telling us when we have thoughts that do not serve us. Our emotions aren't anything to do with anyone else. Okay. We feel good when another offers us or says something to us or something like that. We feel good when that happens because we're seeing a reflection of our love coming through another. That's self-actualization too. And we're open to receiving that love. It works both ways, on the shadow side and on the enlightened side. Okay. So to release the blocks, keep bringing everything back to your heart. Open it up. And let's stop projecting it out. We're better than this. And you're remembering. We're all remembering. So much love to you all. And thank you for being here, for sharing your light, your energy, your joy, your breath. And I will see those of you that are enrolled on the 12/12 workshop homecoming Star Family Reunion. I will see you on the 12th or on the replay. You can find that on my website, aliceheath.com.